Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stronghold podcast. This is the end of the year podcast. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Charmaine, and Jake, the producer. What's up, Jake? How you doing, man?
I'm good. We're wearing our identical Christmas shirts because
check this shit out.
Season.
If you're not watching this podcast, do yourself a favor. If you want to see a sexy man, look at this. Look at this ridiculous. Can you put us both on the screen, Jake? I want to be screen and screen while we're both looking at wearing the shirts. Yeah,
there you go.
That's it. That's what you guys want to see. Let's be honest. I wore a normal a jiu-jitsu shirt, and Jake was like, "Oh, I happen to have an extra one of these." And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing sexier than two men wearing matching Christmas shirts.
Christmas Star Wars shirts as well to make it even more geeky.
It's kind of reminds me of a Cosby sweater. You know, the Bill Cosby sweaters? It's like this bright pattern. I didn't know it was Star Wars until you told me. Anyway, I feel like we're profiling.
Charmaine's letting us down by not wearing Christmas
Well,
gear.
The problem was you didn't bring a third matching shirt. That was your mistake.
Oh, you guys just look like a gay couple.
Hey, maybe we are. Hey, let's not rule anything out, Jake. 2020 has been a weird year.
2021 is going to get a lot weirder if that's happening.
Yeah, so this is the last podcast of the year. So I thought Charmaine would come on. We would just have a couple light beers because things tend to get off the rails here sometimes. And if you managed to watch the last podcast for the 5 seconds that it was up and available, me and YouTube, we're having some marital problems, and we can't seem to figure out each other totally well yet. So this is a funny story. If you downloaded the audio version of the podcast last week, then you probably didn't realize. And if you want to watch the podcast of last week, but you can't find it because it got pulled by YouTube, you can go and you can download the audio. I don't know what the hell happened, but I got a message from YouTube saying that the video was pulled for child endangerment. I mean, it's an MMA podcast. All we did was talk about the fights.
Yep. I was on the podcast. We weren't even pissed either well.
We had a couple light beers,
yep.
Keeping it fresh. And child endangerment. Now, to be fair, there was a super sketchy picture of Charmaine on the thumbnail. And yes, I told her before I posted it that I was going to post it.
I told him no.
No, you didn't.
I did. I said, don't post it. I said it like 5 times.
Well.
But as you know, he does not listen.
Well.
He does what he wants.
YouTube was like, no. YouTube was like, no, pull that shit down. And here's the weird thing. We thought maybe that was it because the content of the actual podcast itself was not that crazy, right? We just talked about the fights. So maybe we thought it was a thumbnail, so I re-uploaded it, changed the thumbnail, pulled down again. So I have no idea what the issue was. Charmaine is not underage, YouTube, just in case you're curious. She is my adult wife. To be fair, though, when I took that picture of her, though, it looked a little bit like human trafficking. It looked a little bit like that. It was not that, but I can imagine how it would appear that way. But yeah, I tried to re-upload it, and they still didn't allow it, so I don't know what the issue is, man.
It's the content.
But we didn't say anything. We really didn't say anything. I went back and watched it again. I don't know what they pulled it for. But anyway, so if you want to watch that, if you listen to it, and you can isolate what we said that would endanger children,
yeah, do let us know.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Because that was certainly not my intention. And, so a little bit of YouTube drama. We'll figure it out. We'll try to keep this one less aggressive toward children, So let's move to the fights, man. Actually, first of all, let's talk about the training that we had the last couple weeks. It's nice being able to roll again. That's really, really sick. Phase 3 is coming in December 28th. I don't know if anybody here is listening from overseas, but we're basically locked down to only being able to spar jiu-jitsu with groups of 5 people. And it kind of sucks, but it's a lot better than not being able to roll at all. And so they announced that Phase 3 is going to be December 28th. They haven't announced exactly what specifics of Phase 3 are going to be.
Outside of, you're allowed 8 people, and that's all. 8 people. Yeah, all right.
Massive upgrade from 5.
True.
I'll take it anyway. Hopefully they have some loosening of the regulations for rolling. It'd be nice if we could just kind of train normally again. Stronghold's doing pretty good, but we're starting to reach the maximum capacity, I think.
Yeah, everybody's on the wait list. There's always a few every day.
Yeah, we have we have the mat space for 12 people, but we put the list at 10 just in case we get a walk-in or someone random that shows up. And we're just starting to push the limit of that, so hopefully they increase the class sizes, and then loosen the restrictions on how many people you can roll with. That would be nice.
Yeah.
We did training today. I'm a little tired. Charmaine, you've got to be tired.
Yeah.
You rolled yesterday too, right? Did you train?
I trained boxing yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday we did an hour of BJJ. No gi, there's no gi, right?
Muay Thai sparring and then gi.
Oh, right, yeah. So it was Muay
yesterday.
Thai sparring. We did an hour of Muay Thai sparring. We did like 8 rounds, and then we went straight into jiu-jitsu, and then probably did 8 more rounds in there, and then came in today, taught the kids classes, and then we did an hour of no gi sparring, and then we did like another hour of MMA sparring, and I'm just wrecked. Tiffany was here. Tiffany Teo was here.
Shout out.
Shout out to Tiffany, wrecking people as usual. She brought Kai Shang, who was here on the podcast with Tiffany, Beast, and Oz, one of their friends. A couple of majors, purple belts, came in and trained. Training was sick, so good. I'm exhausted. Punched in the face, you know what I mean? But all in all, it was pretty good training. So, let's move on to the fights. Should we talk about last week's first? Because we didn't get to do the podcast because YouTube was not feeling us that week. So last week was Charles Oliveira and Tony Ferguson, and actually we got a comment on one of the YouTube videos that someone wanted to break down Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira. So can you pull up the card from last week, and then we can break it down? Can you make it big? Yeah. All right. So Figueiredo, Moreno. What a fight that was. Let's go down a little bit. Oliveira, Ferguson, Kenzie Dern, Kevin Holland, and Jacare. Wow, let's talk about that. Let's start with Kevin Holland, man. What a beast. He is so unpredictable. He's just a wild man. Did you hear him shit-talking Jacare from his back before he knocked him out with a punch? That was crazy. Imagine Jacare being on top of you. He's one of the most decorated jiu-jitsu athletes of all time to ever enter the UFC. He gets the takedown within the first minute. Like, most people would be shitting their pants. And Kevin Holland is literally looking at him, talking shit like so loud. He's not like talking to him like, he's like yelling at him so everybody can hear it. And then he like cross frames, throws a punch from his back and knocks out one of the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitors of all time to ever enter MMA from the guard with a punch. Crazy. That's one of the knockouts of the year, which we'll talk about later.
Being the amazing parent I was sat watching it with my 6-year-old daughter. And Jacare takes him down, and then again, being the amazing parent I was like, oh, Holland's fucked now.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh no.
No, he wasn't.
Hey, his jiu-jitsu is tricky too. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because he was throwing up triangles. He was throwing up arm bars. The thing with jiu-jitsu is when really good people get a hold of you, like if you're wrestling with your coach, or if you're wrestling with like the brown belts or the black belts or purple belts or whatever, like when you touch up with them and when you start, within the first 30 seconds, you can kind of feel the technical difference, and a lot of people tend to go into their shell, right? Like their defensive shell, where all they're doing is framing and blocking because they know if they try to get their offense, it creates opportunities for the other person, right? Like if I'm in the Jacare's closed guard and I start trying to throw up triangles and arm bars, it creates enough space that the pass for him is so much easier. Like the path of least resistance would be to like close your guard and just hold on for dear life, right? Stall him out, get the stand up, like keep good composure. But the more submissions you throw up and sweeps you try to go, that creates more time for the technical differences to show themselves, right? Because you create space, and that therefore the better guy will typically take advantage of those situations. So Jacare got on top of him. He didn't give a shit. He's throwing up submissions. He's punching off of his back. He's making him work. He's trying to sweep him. Usually guys get into their shell, like they're just gonna hold, like Conor when he fought Khabib.
Yeah.
Right, when Khabib got on top of him, he just held him. He blocked the punch, he squeezed him, tried to create no space, tried to work his way up a little bit, but extremely conservative. Because he knows that if he tries to get crazy and scrambles, he's gonna leave openings that the better grappler would typically take advantage of. Not fucking Kevin Holland, man. He's like, oh, hold on a second, we'll do jiu-jitsu. Oh wait, jiu-jitsu's stupid. Let me punch you in the face from my back and knock you out. Yeah. That's crazy. That's like, is that the second one in 2 years? Remember Nico Price? I don't know if you remember that one. Also knocked out somebody from his back as well. Like he was in a half guard knee shield, and the knee shield created the space, and he turned and just went boom, hammer fisted him right there, just immediately went out.
It was a crazy knockout, and the fact that he did against Jacare just makes it even more insane. He was like, one of the best in the world, like MMA. BJJ practitioner, as it were. and
Isn't he
just
getting
BJJ.
old though?
Who's that?
Jacare?
Yeah, Jacare is definitely getting old. Make sure you speak up. Sure. You hear us so well?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's definitely getting old. He's like 38. Or, no, is he 40 now? I think he's 40.
Right.
Hey!
I'm turning 41 next week.
Oh, shut it.
Oops.
Well, spoiler alert, Jacare probably, could get you, Jake.
Yeah, I imagine he probably, in a minute, I'd give him infinity times. That's how often.
I mean, Roger Gracie broke his arm in the finals of the World Championships, and he was up on points. This is like one of the most famous grappling stories of all time. Roger Gracie had him in an arm bar. He broke his fucking arm, and Jacare's like, I'm not tapping. I'm up on points. I just got to let you wrench my shit until the time runs out, and then I'm going to win. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
He's turning away. His shit's broken. And he's like, well, it's already broken. It's not getting unbroken anytime soon. So he's like, I'll just let you crank it for 2 more minutes. Or it wasn't 2 minutes. It was like, I can't remember how much time was left. This was...
Don't you just
early
feel like
2000s.
nauseous when you know that your your like limb is broken?
You know what makes Jacare feel nauseous?
Losing.
a world championship. Losing a world
Just
championship
like,
makes him feel nauseous. That's how much of a beast that guy is. But, and this was going to segue me to my next point. I can't wait, and I think the most room for innovation in MMA is striking from the back.
Yeah.
I think that's the area of the game that's the least focused on, because so much of the game is dictated on getting up from the bottom, that people would rather spend all that time doing like wrestling get-ups, sweeps, like feet on the hips, pop, push away, pop up, technical stand-ups, like typical scoop back to the cage and then use the cage to get up, all that shit, right, that you see all the time. But you see people like Tony Ferguson, and then you see this fight with Kevin Holland, and you see some of these people have success literally fighting from their back, right, throwing elbows, cross framing, right? Like posting here, boom, coming up with elbows up, elbows to submissions, punching into submissions. And I feel like no one's really systemized that yet to the point where they train it enough where it would be highly effective. But I feel like that is the most room for innovation to grow in MMA. That's the area that people have trained the least. And it'd be really interesting if somebody like really focused on creating systems there. And, I think it should be like how you train Taekwondo for MMA, right? You need to have regular simple stuff, round kicks, low kicks, push kicks, before you start doing jumping 360 kicks, right? But if you have the basics, then you can start to add that stuff in. I would like to see some people like, those people that have really good stand-up, but they just start practicing that, right? Just start practicing elbows and hammer fists. I'm telling you, that knee shield position, people chill there all the time from the top half guard, right? You know what I mean? Like you're trying to pass the guard, bottom guy's got the shield across the stomach. There's all that space. If I'm cross blocking your arm in the half guard, like you can't really hit me from there, but I can definitely throw back, boom, and hit that hammer fist. And that Nico Price knocked that guy out. I can't remember who it was. I feel like there's a lot of innovation there. That was crazy. Yeah. So Kevin Holland looks like one of the best fighters of the year. I mean, was that 5 or 6 this year? It was 5 wins in like 7 months, right?
Yeah, he's had a couple of really close turnarounds.
I mean, I think because the Figueiredo fight was an amazing fight, first of all, but close fight. I think Kevin Holland's fighter of the year, man. That was crazy. That was crazy. He might get my vote for fighter of the year, which we'll talk about further. But let's move up that card. What else was on there? There was one after the Kevin Holland fight before Tony Ferguson.
So Mackenzie Dern.
Oh, okay. That was a pretty good fight. Mackenzie's still making progress on her striking. Competitive, but Mackenzie was still pulled ahead. Remains to be seen how she's going to develop when she gets to the top 5, top 10. Her striking's still pretty rough.
She still has a while to go, right? I mean,
she's only been in the UFC for a couple years, but
yeah.
So that was
Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, and we'll get into Ferguson Oliveira. I mean, where do you start with this fight?
What was wrong?
Ferguson's lost 8 rounds in a row straight now.
Yeah, goddamn.
I think it's just such a shame because when he was at his hottest, when he was arguably the best in the division,
he was my favorite fighter then.
Yeah, everything just didn't work out for him. Injuries, fights getting cancelled, you name it. And now it's 2-3 years down the line from that, and it just looks like his time's passed.
Yeah, he's 38 now, and he always took damage. I mean, he still, his chin still held up. I mean, he's still crazy enough to get in there, but you don't want to be a tough guy in the sport, right? I mean, that shit will run its course. And Tony Ferguson doesn't seem like he's interested in retiring, but there's word that he's going to be one of those fighters that might be cut. That 60.
Yeah.
I saw an article, I think this morning, just quickly, this is speculating he might be on the list. I don't know if you can do that, man. You can't cut a guy who's 12-2 in his last 14 fights. But to your point, he did not look good in that fight. He just technically looks worse. Just his technique looks worse.
His training is so unconventional, right?
Yeah, his training's super unconventional.
And it's like, how do you train like that and then go fight guys who are so much better?
Yeah, I mean, he looked more technical when he was younger. Like, usually as you get older, you have to develop tricks, right? You got to get all those tricks. And aside from the uppercut in the second round in the Gaethje fight, he hasn't looked great. And even in the fights before that, they were blood and guts. Like, he won those fights and he was like scary as fuck because he literally looked like, and his opponents looked like they were in like a Jason movie or something by the end of his fight. Like, he was just terrorizing everybody, but he was still getting hit in every fight. And it just doesn't seem like he's got the tricks, and most importantly, he doesn't have the defense. And that's his biggest problem, is just the defense isn't there. He's getting hit all the time. He got taken down easily by Charles Oliveira, who's not known for his takedowns. He's known for his BJJ.
Yeah.
And then when he got taken down, he was making even really bad technical mistakes with his jiu-jitsu. He's pushing up with his elbows. That's why he got caught in that armbar. He's not hip escaping. He wasn't turning to push his back toward the cage to get up with the wrestler stand-up. I mean, it just wasn't there. He's like trying to fight him off his back. Like when he was mounted and in the half guard and stuff, like you get the closed guard, you could start to do some of that stuff, but if you're like in side control and in mount, you can't be punching from there and elbowing. It's just that crazy shit he does, and it just seems like he's slowed down a step and his technique isn't making up the gap.
All that crazy stuff he did, like, but that's what got him to the dance. Like, he was so unorthodox and so unusual, and it worked. But I guess it just gets.
But I feel like his fundamentals have suffered. So the crazy stuff is not like, you know, when you do spinning moves and you do crazy shit and you do Imanari rolls and you do fucking Superman elbows and you do spinning elbow, all the crazy shit Tony Ferguson does, you need to sprinkle that in, right?
Yeah.
That needs to be a sprinkle. You can't make your game around that. If you want to hit that flashy shit, you can, but it's got to be, you got to set it up and it's got to be unexpected. Right, and I just feel like his fundamentals, he drops his hands, his chin is up, he looks leaner. He doesn't look as broad as he used to be, and the wrestling's not there, the jiu-jitsu wasn't there, and like his last two fights, I mean, I don't know what to do with him.
We're going to be talking about the year's events and stuff like that. Like, disappointment of the years, maybe one of the things could be the way things have gone for him this year, because he used to be phenomenal.
Him and Leon Edwards, they had a rough 2020.
Yeah.
There's a few fighters this year that have just had a rough go. Woodley's had a bad 2020. You know, so there's going to be some, and then you have a few fighters who've had an amazing 20. Kevin Holland has burned it up in 2020. Hamzat Chimaev burned it up in 2020. So you're going to see that, right? You're going to see that come and go. But man, it's just so disappointing to see the fall of some guys. And Tony Ferguson, for me, is just one of those guys that you just hurts, because that Khabib fight's gone. I wanted that so bad. Like 4 years ago, that shit would have been epic.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, now, if Charles Oliveira can do that to Khabib, or to Tony Ferguson, Khabib would have fucking mauled him. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe not.
Yeah.
But now it's pretty clear to see that Tony's grappling has taken a big step back. His speed and timing has taken a step back, and his striking defense is not there because he just keeps getting fucked up. Even when he wins, he's getting fucked up. So,
do you think it's because of the fight with Gaethje that he's like deteriorated?
That's a good question.
Because that fight was pretty crazy.
That was ugly.
I was like almost gonna cry at the end of the round. I was like, no, just get him out of it. He's like,
Gaethje stopped him, but he's still conscious, right? That's the scary thing about it.
But he's like shaking his head like
that
this.
Was weird.
Oh,
right?
don't do that.
You watch him, he's just like,
like, oh my god, blood, like
he literally shivered, but it looked like his soul shivered.
Yeah.
Right, like the inner part of just a guttural, and you're just like, oh god, that's kind of creepy. I get goosebumps just like thinking about that.
But he had the knee injury when he was supposed to fight Khabib and he tripped over the cable.
That's when it all started to go downhill.
That's a knee injury that ends your career, and he came back from it without actually getting any real
in like 6 months,
rehab.
And then fought Pettis in a brutal fight, which he got dropped in also, right? He won that fight, and it's the same thing with like a lot of these fights, right? When he fought Lando Venata, when he fought, like a lot of these are hard fights he has. He just still finds a way to get it done. But now it's like I don't think his technique and his defense are clean enough to enable him to use his unorthodox shit, his toughness, all that stuff, right? And because you can be as tough as hell, but if you get picked off constantly for 25 minutes, then you don't have the space and the timing to hit your unconventional stuff, right? And Justin Gaethje did it on the feet, and then Oliveira did it on the ground, right? It was the same story, but just two different systems to do it, right? Like Gaethje crushed him on the feet. He got endangered once by that uppercut, and didn't Tony threaten have a decent bite on a Darce against Oliveira too? I think he had a little bit of a bite on that, which is his move. You know, like there's spots, but it's way too little, right? It's way too little. And yeah, it's a fucking bummer to see. But the flip side, Charles Oliveira looks like a world champion.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be the guy. He looked phenomenal. He's looked so good in all of his last fights. He's experienced. Everything's clean and crisp. When you see him wrestle Tony Ferguson like that, that's when I'm like, damn. If he added that wrestling to his game, then he's a serious threat. The only caveat with Oliveira is he tends to struggle with heavy hitters, power punchers.
Which is what he's going to have to face.
Yes, especially in the top 5. Yeah, Gaethje, that'd be a problem for him, right? Those type of guys. And if for anybody that wants to shit on Paul Felder, go watch Paul Felder cave his fucking head into the canvas with elbows from the closed guard. And that's his only loss in the 155-pound division. That should make you respect Paul Felder a little bit more, because for whatever reason people shit on him. I don't know why. He is a fucking animal. He has some of the most entertaining fights in the history of the lightweight division. And he caved his fucking head in and knocked him out bad. So that fight was his only loss in the lightweight division. But if he has to deal with Gaethje, Poirier, Conor, those guys that have real one-stop power, of super explosive, like fast twitch, those are the guys that he struggled with, even when he was a featherweight. But he might be the one. He might be the dark horse in that division. I still think Khabib would smash him, but anybody else, I think he's got a good chance at beating. Conor will give him problems. Gaethje will give him problems, though, I think. But those are hell of good fights now.
You got Conor Poirier, so then you could give him Gaethje, and then
you could give him Hooker as well. Hooker would be a nice option there. That would be a fucking fight. That'd be a good fight.
Yeah. But because obviously the belt's on the line, so it's like a mini tournament going on in that division. So who gets to fight for the belt? So that should be
Tony,
cool.
You just needed this one, dude. You just needed this one. That's all you needed. Because we never saw Ferguson versus Poirier. We never saw Ferguson versus Conor. We never saw Ferguson versus Khabib. Like, Tony Ferguson's been in the UFC for 10 fucking years, and we never saw those fights.
12 fight win streak.
I know.
And then
there was just like, I just wish he had like 2 more years just to get a couple of those good fights in, but that window just seems like it's gone. And I'm a big Tony Ferguson fan. It's a bummer. But hey, it's not a young man's or not an old man's game. 38 years old, taking that kind of punishment. You have that kind of berserker Korean zombie style, like, Tony Ferguson style.
I mean, there's still, I suppose the good thing about that division is there's still really good fights for him. Like, you'd watch him fight Cowboy again, you'd watch him fight Pettis again.
Khabib.
Yeah.
I'd still watch it. I mean, I know how it will go, I suspect, but I'd still watch it. I just think Tony Ferguson, I mean, I know he got new coaches for this, apparently, but it's just not there. The technique is just not there. Like, I can see it. Like, I can just see the technical mistakes. He drops his hands to his hips, retracting a lot of his punches. The wrestling was really surprising because he's always been a good wrestler. And he, like, later in his career, even when he fought Kevin Lee, he played the bottom game. Like, I don't want to see you play the bottom game. Get up, dude. Get up. Like, because all of his scrambles for his Darces and shit happened in transition. He fucked up Kevin Lee on his back, but, like, at the higher levels, you just can't be playing that game. It's a bummer. I don't know what they do with him. I'd like to see him get one more. I still think he's going to be a top 5 guy, maybe 6 in the world. Like, you can still give him something. I don't know if it's the right time to cut him yet. He might have one more if he gets the right opponent. Hopefully that can kind of get him moving again, but he needs to really, really just hang back and focus on his technique.
Also, not go to a trampoline park 2 days before the big fight.
He's crazy. That's why he's so fun. That's why he's just so unorthodox and so fun. That's why I like him so much.
Yeah.
He'll do anything, and he does not give a fuck. And I love those people like the Diaz brothers and Tony Ferguson and those guys that you just can never beat. You can defeat them, but you'll never beat them. They're that kind of crazy. Justin Gaethje, right? Like Dustin Poirier. The only way to actually beat them is to, like, separate from them from their consciousness or outpoint them.
Yeah.
Because they never, ever, 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 ever will quit. And Tony Ferguson, to me, is the most He's got the biggest heart of any fighter in MMA history. There's no guy that he's never once in a single second of his UFC career ever looked like he wanted to stop. Like, even if he's getting fucking destroyed, he's that kind of crazy. And man, you don't want to fight El Kukui, man. You don't. Even if you win, you don't want to fight that guy, right? Because you're not going to beat him mentally, so you're going to be in for a grind.
Yeah.
And but having said that, Oliveira was pretty much a clean finish. He was never really threatened, no cuts or anything too bad. All right, so we'll keep an eye on the Tony Ferguson situation. Let's move on, dude. What's the next one?
And then you had the main event.
Oh, Figueiredo Moreno. What a fight. What a great fight. Tons of fouls, which was a huge bummer because the fouls, I thought, totally changed the trajectory of the fight. That dick kick was brutal. Just the toes to the balls. When the toes get in there, that's a problem. Listen, if I front kick you with my toes and I hit you in the stomach, nothing hurts worse than like the toes and like the ball of foot just digging into your ribs, your liver. Now imagine your ball sack. like that is a perfect fit. You know what I mean? Like if you hit the shin or you hit the foot, like the balls will kind of move around the object.
Yeah.
But when you have the flat of the foot come in, it's a perfect fit. You know, there's no room for it to go anywhere.
I thought when it
brutal.
happened, I was like, oh, well, this fight's done then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not getting up.
I thought he was going to puke for a second.
Yeah.
And I was like, if he puke, like... And then, so I thought that actually changed the momentum of the fight, honestly, because, I actually thought Moreno came back and won after the groin shot. It was still super competitive, so maybe not that, but there's no way that didn't affect you to some degree. And that was the second or third one, right? Weren't there a few groin shots?
There were a few...
The few
I'm
fouls.
going from memory, but
that
yeah,
one took
I know,
me too. I only watched it once, like last week, but
don't they wear a cup? Like the toes don't go.
No, it went up and in. It got up under the cup. He threw a front kick from like way too close, and it went up.
Oh.
And then like you could see the cup, like the foot underneath the cup. It went in there. You know, it was a bad one.
Yeah.
It was a bad groin strike, for
They
sure.
deduct the point.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the reason why it went to a draw.
Oh.
Because they deducted the point. If there was no point deduction, Figueiredo would have won. But that was a brutal dick kick. You can't do that. I mean, that is horrific.
Yeah. Should maybe take 2 points for that? I'd have been like, I know you can't, but sort of feel like they should have.
Well, and there were several fouls as well, and that's a whole other issue.
What, like
I'm
eye
glad.
pokes?
Yeah, I'm glad they took the in-groin kicks. I'm glad they took the point away because I feel like that was a really bad one. I'm happy with the draw. I thought it was a crazy good fight. Figueiredo started good and ended good, and I thought Moreno was better throughout the mid parts of the fight. It looked like his arm was broken. Did you see his arm? He blocked a kick. I mean, he had it looked like an alien was giving birth on his wrist or something like that. He had this huge hematoma on his arm from blocking a kick, and then he wasn't throwing his jab the whole round. He said afterward he didn't think it was broken, but I mean the inactivity with his jab really made me think it was pretty hurt, and he pretty much let the fight go in that last round. He backed off a little bit. Maybe he was tired. It was a brutal fight, horrific kick in the balls. All of these things probably led to a little bit of inactivity. I thought Figueiredo fought well in the fifth round. His cardio was there. Everyone was kind of questioning his cardio with the weight cut and everything. But he got a lot of breaks because every time there was a foul, that was why I think Moreno wanted to push the pace and come back quickly because he has the cardio advantage. But every round, Figueiredo got like a 2 or 3 minute break, because some sort of foul. I'm exaggerating, but
No,
but the flyweight division is good. It's good. This is the best it's ever been.
it's back.
It's interesting. Like Moreno's amazing. What a great fighter. I mean, that was a scary fight, especially in the beginning. Figueiredo came on strong. All the fouls, he took everything. Was always firing back. If he wins a title, he'll be the first ever Mexican mixed martial arts champion, which would be really cool too.
Yeah.
Because Mexicans have such a history of fighting, of boxing and everything else.
But it was we forgot to mention you just said about the arm bar. That's what we completely forgot. How Tony Ferguson's arm still worked in the first fight.
Oh yeah. We totally didn't even mention that he got his arm nearly broken off. I mean, that's what I mean by he's crazy. And this is why I tell all you jiu-jitsu people listening to this podcast, work chokes. Chokes are number one. Because crazy people will let you break their shit off. Like, they will.
Yep.
They will. They just 100% will. Look at Jacare, look at it. And, it's a little bit of a purist thing to be like, yeah, well, most people, in a fight, you get somebody in an armbar, they're going to attack. Yeah, most people, but not all of them. not all of them.
Not Tony Ferguson.
As has been shown by many, many, many people throughout MMA. Chokes always win. Like, you get it, it's done. You're not tougher than a choke. You can be tougher than an armbar.
Yeah.
You can. Many people, Tim Sylvia got his arm broken, wanted to continue. Jacare got his arm broken, wanted to continue. Tony Ferguson may as well have gotten his arm broken. I don't know what happened, but it looked pretty bad. And still wanted to fight. Go for chokes. Train your chokes. Joint locks are cool. Even heel hooks, right? Like heel hooks are a little different because it mixes with your stability and your walking. Heel hooks are, I think, the most effective joint lock. Which is why I always tell Charmaine to make sure she loves arm bars. And she's an armbar machine. She armbars everybody. But I have to tell her, I'm like, Charmaine, stop armbarring. Just, no. She's like, she goes through it's just her instinct to always go for it. And I'm like, stop, because she's never working her other moves because she's got a good armbar. She catches people with it. And it's hard. It's one of those things where, like, you don't want to not use your best
but
moves.
I do it from mount. So, I mean, if I'm in MMA, I just punch.
You do it from the guard, too. You do it from the guard as well.
Not anymore.
Well, because I'm trying to shut it down. Trying to shut it down, that's why. But that's the reason why, is because people will not tap to that stuff, or even other stuff. Like, some people are incredibly flexible. I mean, some people can straight up bend their elbow back. Double jointed, more than 180 degrees. I mean, we had a kid today, right?
Yeah.
We have this one kid, Mikhail, kid trains. One of the other kids put him in an armbar. I mean, it was straight. He's like pulling it over the hip, bridging up. That shit's bent all backwards. And he's just like, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. And I'm just like, and this kid's like, why isn't it working? And I'm like, it's hard to explain. Like, 'cause I'm like, you're doing it right. And he's like, this move doesn't work. I'm like, it does, but occasionally you'll meet people who are super Gumby, right? They just have that body type to do.
Yeah.
I've had some people that I've had in like full on, even triangle chokes. I'm squeezing them. It was before I really knew how to do a triangle. But like some people, like Vlad will let people choke, and I mean, you will squeeze hard, and he's just like, his face is red. You're just like, I mean, because he knows, like, right at the brink of going unconscious is not unconscious yet. I'm still good. And you meet people that are hard to hit with certain moves, but generally they'll work. And Tony, I don't know if he has double joints or if it was serious. Did you see any article about what the results were after that?
All I saw was Tony Ferguson then went and just got cupping done on his arm. Didn't even bother with the doctor. That'll fix it.
That's Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe his career is coming short.
Yeah.
Because he's just so tough. He's like, fuck it. I'm going to do ninja crawls, front flips, fucking kung fu pulls. Bro. I mean, I know he's still doing his real training also, but he needs to focus like all of his attention on distance management, defense, right? Crisp, clean striking. Even his jiu-jitsu is so unconventional and so awkward. I know it's effective. He's tapped a lot of people. He's beat a lot of good people. But like the way he's lifting up his elbows, and I mean, that armbar was just given to him. His elbows were like all the way up. Like there was no way Oliveira wasn't going to take that armbar. I don't want to bring back Tony Ferguson again, but
No, I've got to show you this now.
Oh God, is this it?
Fixed.
Oh,
Not even a problem.
Fixed.
Taking care of it.
I mean, why? Like,
just cup it out, bro.
Oh God.
Suck all the evil blood out.
I tried it. I don't think it works. It left me feeling very like lethargic.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I've never done the cupping.
But they're like, oh, it's normal. It's just your toxins leaving your body. And I'm like, really?
That's what they always say. But when has that ever been like confirmed with science?
But I pulled something in my shoulder and had it done on my back, and it was better. So I don't know. For some things, maybe. And for
I don't
things,
want to
maybe
shit
not.
on it, but it's definitely not going to fix a broken arm.
No.
And I'm not even saying Tony's arm is broken. I don't know what the situation is. It was clearly severely strained. Maybe there was no like real serious damage, so he just cupped it out. You know what I mean? I would definitely go to physio though. But all right, man. Oh, one fight I wanted to mention too, because the podcast last week got pulled, was the Jack Hermanson fight with Marvin Vettori. What a great, amazing fight. Did you catch that one?
Yeah.
Last week, I mean, we didn't get to do the podcast last week, but man, we just filmed, or I went straight from training to the podcast, so I didn't get a chance to catch it. I just saw the result. And then I went back after the podcast and watched it. Whoo, what a fight. If you guys listening didn't catch that fight, go watch that Marvin Vettori, Jack Hermanson fight, because that shit was good. One of the best fights of the year. And Marvin Vettori is the only guy to like have a close fight with Adesanya. Fought into a split decision. It was as close, other than Gastelum, which Gastelum hurt him more, but Vettori was like more technical, you know. But Marvin Vettori is another one, like Kevin Holland, who's had an amazing 2020. He took that fight on like a couple weeks' notice, fought 5 hard rounds with the guy who's like ranked 4th in the world on 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
Looked amazing. like Italian guy. Another, if he wins, he'll be the first Italian champion. It's really nice. Like the UFC is so international now. You got the Dagestanis, you got Moreno coming up from Mexico, Vittori's coming from the Adesanya, and all those guys in Auckland, right, training with Eugene Berriman over at City Kickboxing, and then you have Australia, Robert Whittaker, Zhang Wei Li. I mean, and of course you got the American champions. You got Ngannou, Africa's represented, Kamaru Usman, right? I mean, literally every continent has a major, like a top 10 level UFC fighter. Crazy. It's so awesome. I remember when it was all Americans and Brazilians.
Yeah. But did you, I meant to bring it up and then we didn't do the podcast, the fucking state of Vittori's face after it. Have you seen it?
Oh no, let me see.
Oh my god.
Oh, I did see that, yeah.
Just sliced to pieces, but like, it looks like nail marks.
I mean, Hermanson was hitting him hard, man. Jack Hermanson is tough as hell. I didn't know how good he was after like the Jacare fight. Because a couple of he's got that guillotine that he does to everybody, that like arm in guillotine. I think they call it the Joker-tine, or because his nickname's a Joker. And
but it looks like eye gouging.
No, I think it was like glancing shots. Like usually those ones that mark you up are like catching the edge of the glove, or sometimes they're like the direct ones where they won't necessarily bruise up, or you get the sliding ones which will give you little cuts. Could be elbows, could be a lot of stuff, right? But that fight was amazing. And Marvin Vittori's the next serious threat at middleweight. I mean, Dana White was talking about him and Paulo Costa. If we get Paulo Costa back again, if he looks anything like old Paulo Costa, that could be a burner. So I just wanted to mention that one because it was a great fight. And shall we move on to
today's card?
Yeah, let's do today's card.
Bring it up.
As usual, I caught some of them and some of the highlights because I was working, but let's go to
Greg Hardy lost.
Yeah, Greg Hardy lost. You want to start with that? Is that the first fight on the
that was
card?
the first one on the. Oh well, Pettis fought.
Oh, let's see
bizarrely, Pettis fought on the prelims, I think.
I think he was like the main fight on the prelims. Let's start with Pettis. So Pettis fought Moreno, right? Moreno, right?
No. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring it up.
Anyway, the Pettis fight was good. He took a step back in terms of level of competition.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
you're right.
Moreno, right?
Moreno.
Yeah, Alex Moreno. So he took a step back here in competition from the previous guys that he'd been fighting. First of all, he looked in better shape. His body looked better. There's been that was a 70 still, right? Welterweight. He didn't.
Welterweight.
So it's still the same. So yeah, I mean, he's looked kind of doughy at 170 at times, and he did some interviews saying that he'd kind of been fucking around and drinking and partying a little bit too much and all that kind of stuff. And apparently he took this fight seriously. I can tell his body looked different. He looked like he did it lightweight, like shredded, ripped up. He looked amazing. He fucking hit a wheel kick that damn near knocked him out.
Yeah,
did you see the wheel kick?
It was right at the end of the third.
Can you, Charmaine, you probably like to see this too. Can you see if you can find the Instagram clip of that?
Yeah, I tried to do a wheel kick to Tiffany just now during MMA sparring. She caught it and took me down, and I was like, Yeah,
you live by the wheel kick, you die by the wheel kick. Ask Chris Weidman about that when he fought Luke Rockhold. The exact same situation.
She just caught it and took me down, and I was like, okay, never do this again.
So look at this wheel kick. I mean, he just barely missed him, right? Barely missed him. And here it comes, I think, maybe. Boom shakalaka, boom!
Yeah,
wobbled him. But Pettis' mistake, all right, you can probably cut it there, Jim. But Pettis' mistake was he goes for the guillotine right there. If he had just separated and punched, he probably could have finished him there. Because he's definitely wobbled. But the jiu-jitsu, like him clinching up, allowed him to catch his breath and get his wits about him. And then Pettis ended up winning a decision, so that was a good fight. Good to see him look good.
Yeah.
Good to see him look good. I feel like if he's motivated and he's training hard, he can do some damage. I mean, he beat Wonderboy, knocked him out. So clearly he can still fight. It's just, with Pettis, after his title loss, you never really know which version of him you're going to see. You see flashes of brilliance, and then you see him get caught. Tony Ferguson kind of fucked him up a little bit, broke his hand, bloodied up. Like, he gets in wars and then doesn't always come out on top, and sometimes he gets like kind of wrestle fucked. And you just never know which Anthony Pettis you're going to see after his championship loss. But he still sporadically shows that flashes of brilliance, like that wheel kick. What an amazing wheel kick. Charmaine, I wanted to ask you, what was your experience training with Tiffany like? I thought it would be, while we were just talking about it.
Very technical.
That'd be interesting, right? Because, I mean, Tiffany's the best female Singaporean. She's the best in Singapore, for sure, right? Best MMA fighter, highest globally ranked. And it must be cool for you to get to train with her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was the experience like? Because she came in last week and she came in this week and you got to do jiu-jitsu with her, you got to do no-gi, you got to do MMA sparring.
But I was like pretty scared at first to even roll with her. Because, her fight name is No Chill, right? So I was like, I don't want to get like fucked up by her or anything. But she's very chill, very technical, very super fun to roll with.
Yeah, it's a little intimidating. A lot of the girls are. I asked like Kezia and a couple of the other girls to like, oh, go train with her, and they're just like, what?
Kezia's like, no, not me.
No, she's nice, everybody. I had to say the same thing to Charmaine. Like the first time, I told this story in the podcast before, but the first time Charmaine met Tiffany, they were supposed to compete. Well, they were in the same bracket, right? They were in the same division. Of course, Charmaine's way smaller than Tiff, but Singapore girls, purple belt, there's not a lot of them, so it's pretty much just only absolute. And then Charmaine ended up losing in the first round, and then Tiffany advanced, so they did get to roll together. And I told Charmaine, I was like, go talk to her. She's like super cool. She's like, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, no, you should totally talk to her. She looks like super intimidating, and she's a really high-level MMA fighter, but she's chill as hell.
Yeah, when I was rolling with her, I got her in a close guard, and then my immediate reaction was like, Shell.
Don't hit me!
I know.
BJJ, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's no-gi actually, so I'm okay.
No, you know what you need to do? You need to. This is the thing. This is why you have to train MMA differently than BJJ, because you're really good underhooking, right? You were able to get underhooks on her and stuff, but you're always doing like the underhook, knee pick, sweep. Stand up. Just get up to your feet with the underhook.
But I can't take downs. I can't do takedowns.
Do you want Tiffany on top of you when she can punch you?
No.
Or do you want to stand up? You definitely don't want that.
I definitely want to stand up.
You don't want to be underneath her when she's dropping bombs on you, dude.
Yeah.
Get that underhook, get up to your feet, circle away. You know what I mean?
Run.
But yeah, it was cool having her and Kaishong come in and train together. It's really nice getting to train with like the high-level Singaporean competitor. Even Kaishong, he's a beast.
Yeah. He's
really, really good. Major's been talking to me about him for years, and tells me that he's definitely one of the best guys in Singapore. I think he was supposed to fight some this year, but then the COVID stuff, So it'd be nice to see how he progresses, because he's really technical. I was able to do MMA sparring with him today as well. So we were MMA gloves, punching, kicking, jiu-jitsu, everything. He took me down. He's good.
Good.
All right, anyway. So
main card?
Yeah, let's go to the main card. So we'll start off with Greg Hardy and Marcin Tybura. First of all, always weird when you talk about Greg Hardy, because he's got the domestic abuse stuff attached to his
We're trying to forget about it.
Yeah. And despite some terribly named hashtags that I use, I'm not really fans of.
Not really into that.
Yeah, I make jokes, but it's hard to cheer for people like that. But I also kind of respect the hustle, because you can't judge people for there has to be a path where you're like, okay, you can move on with your life at some point, right? We can't just hold the grudges forever. You don't want to forget, but you can't be like, all right, you can't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to let the guy do his thing. And he takes tough fights, and he's really inexperienced. The inexperience showed in the fight. But he took a tough guy. His last fight is Volkanovski, right? Or did he have one after that? One after Volkanovski. And can you pull up Greg Hardy's record? And he had Volkanovski, maybe he had one more that he won, and then Tybura. Those are top 10 heavyweights. Excuse me. Sorry, the beer, guys. Those are top 10 heavyweights. And with a guy with only 3 years experience, I mean, those are tough fights. And he doesn't back down to him. He doesn't mind losing. He wants to win. He's obviously a super athlete, really competitive. He was an NFL All-Pro. So we're dealing with top-tier athleticism with Greg Hardy, which is why he's able to crack the top 15 in the world in just a couple of years. You managed to find it there?
Yeah.
Let's see what his record is.
Bring it up. MMA record. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, so no, he's won 2 since he lost to Volkanovski.
Okay, can you read it out? I can't quite see.
So let me put it up. So so he had the Volkanovski loss. Then he had a win against De Castro.
Oh, yeah.
Win against Morris Green, and then lost today.
Yeah. Well, this is, I believe, pretty much what I expected with the fight, because what you're starting to see with Greg Hardy is a difference in skill that your athleticism can't make up for, and that's in the grappling.
Yep.
Right? If you're a striker and there's distance between you, if you're a power puncher, if you're explosive, if you're very quick to close the range, those sort of X factors are really, really, they translate well to striking. They don't translate well to grappling. I mean, he doesn't know how to hip escape. He can't get up. He's getting controlled everywhere. He's moving the wrong way on the ground. I'm sure he's at ATT. He's definitely doing grappling. But there's a difference between like a super athlete who's been striking for 2 or 3 years, because those guys can knock you the fuck out. Look at Francis Ngannou, right? I mean, but then look at Francis when he fights Stipe.
Yeah.
Okay? And then look at Greg Hardy when he fights strikers, and then look at Greg Hardy when he fights someone who gets him down and grapples him. I mean, you just can't fight at the highest level with 2 to 3 years of grappling experience.
But he won the first round.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Quite handily.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then takedown in round 2, and he literally looked like he didn't know how to get off his back. It
Yeah,
was
just like a dead fish. Part of that could have been maybe blowing his load in the first round. He could have been tired, all that kind of stuff. But he does not know how to be efficient with his on the ground at all. And that is going to be tough for him to deal with as he gets into the upper echelon. I mean, John Jones. Come on, dude. Like, John Jones is going to fucking throw you. Like, you know what I mean? You deal with Stipe.
Yeah.
These guys can wrestle, man. And even, like, Ngannou, like, you want to trade with him? So even if the top 5 that he wouldn't necessarily try to wrestle fuck him, you don't want to strike Alistair Overeem. You don't want to strike with those guys.
But Derek Lewis, you can't stand in front of in a pocket with him. And if Derek Lewis gets you on the floor and you can't get off your back and he's raining down punches on you, you are fucked.
Derek Lewis is the only heavyweight ever who actually is successful at just standing the fuck up.
Yeah.
He's the only heavyweight who's just like, oh, he took me down, I'm just going to stand up. He's not technical, he doesn't hip escape, he literally like bench press and just stand up. And you're like, did you just stand up when you were on your back? And he's like, yeah, I just got up. So he just gets the fuck up somehow. I don't know how he does it. He's the most untechnical guy with that, but he always gets up.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe Hardy can pull Derek Lewis or something, but he's one of the only guys who's been successful just like getting up somehow without having tons of technique, right? Until you get to Daniel Cormier, and then the process repeats itself of, oh, you see what happens when you're a dangerous power puncher, but if you get taken down, sometimes you can get up against the regular people, but with the elite.
Yeah.
The guys that are really, Tybura is a top guy, you get Stipe, again with Ngannou, you're not getting up with him. He's going to make you keep getting up over and over while he's punching you. You just can't rush that. There's no shortcuts with wrestling and jiu-jitsu. There are shortcuts with striking. You're a power puncher, you're a fucking Yoel Romero, or you're a Francis Ngannou, Mike Tyson was super technical, but if you have that kind of fast twitch, that kind of explosion, that's a shortcut. You can definitely knock people out quicker than other people if you have those physical gifts, but they don't translate as well to grappling. That's technique. Yeah. So, and that's what you saw there. Greg Hardy's still going to he's still going to get wins. He's still going to get losses. I don't know if he'll be champion. I don't think he'll get that far. But I think he can have a solid career, and...
I mean, the UFC are clearly invested in him as well. They keep on giving him fights. They keep on... And he's that weird one that, like, he'll lose to a better opponent. Then, unlike with other people, they seem to give him, like, then 2 fights that are winnable for him. And he's super active. Yeah. Like, he doesn't mind losing. Like, he loses... sometimes people lose and they take time off and they take ages off and they, like, retire a bunch of times, like Connor or whatever, you know what I mean? But he doesn't seem to mind losing. It's just like, hey, it's just which is good. That's what I respect about him. But the real story should be Tybura. He looked great. He's a serious contender. He seems like if I had to pick, he'd probably live in that fringe, top 5, top 10, really elite level. But I don't know if he's going to get over on the really, really super freaks at heavyweight. But still good enough to beat the athletes with better technique. So let's go to the next one. Then Marlon Moraes, Rob Font. And Font. Yeah. You see that one? Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, I mean, short fight. Rob Font looked amazing. Marlon is another one who seems to be suffering from the broken. Ooh, thank you, sir. That's what I needed. A refill in the beer. But ever since Marlon lost to Cejudo, he hasn't looked great. He looked decent against Aldo in a pretty close fight, and then Sandhagen fucked him up with that wheel kick, which we're gonna get to knockout of the year pretty soon. That's up there. And then now another loss to Rob Font, who was not really I thought Marlon would win. I knew Font was really good, but Marlon just seems to have some technical or some mental blocks that he can't seem to get over. But Rob Font got another contender. He looked brutal. Yeah, Font looked really good. I mean, Marlon Moraes even almost wheel kicked him right at the end before that finish. He was like an inch away from. Marlon still can win fights. I don't know if he's got the championship mentality. He's got the championship body, and he's got the championship skills. It's can he develop the championship mindset before his window closes here, because it's already looking like it's going in that direction. Rob Font on the rise, though. He looked really good. Can you pull up Rob Font's record? I'd like to see who he's fought recently, because Marlon Moraes is definitely his biggest name, but he just hasn't looked the same since that Cejudo fight. Henry Cejudo just broke him. Sorry, just
Yeah, that's
fine. Mixed MMA record. Oh, so he's on a 3-fight win streak now. So,
3-fight win. Who do we got here?
Sergio Pettis.
Oh, right. He beat Sergio, Ricky Simon, and Marlo. Those are 3 good wins. Lost a
bit sketchy
and
before
Almeida
that,
too. Damn, Pedro. That is a tough like 7 fights in a row.
yeah.
God damn, that is a tough go. Rob Font is seriously a veteran, man. Those are tough fights. Amazing. We got a contender. We got another one there. And then move up. Chaos Williams, I think a lot of people were hyping him up. He's another one of those guys that's got sick power, really explosive, but you could tell he's still developing the technique. He's got the best name in MMA history. Chaos Williams, spelled with a K.
But then he's like the Ox Fighter as well. Is his nickname?
The Ox Fighter?
His nickname is the Ox Fighter.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, but it sounds amazing.
What does Ox Fighter even mean? Like he fights oxes?
Yeah, I guess that's.
Why not? He is the ox.
I had no idea.
I'm sure that's. Let me take before. So I'm not talking.
The
shit.
Ox Fighter. I never heard it called that. But I mean, his name is so amazing. Chaos Williams already so amazing. It doesn't need a. You want to? I'll give you
Yeah.
the Ox Fighter.
The Ox Fighter. I'm not. I'm just not.
No, I want.
I'm not just talking bollocks. It is Chaos Williams, the Ox Fighter, which is amazing. MMA name.
I don't even understand. He should be one. He's the only guy that should not take a fight name.
Yeah, and just be Chaos.
Chaos, man. I mean, that's Colby Covington's nickname. That's his real name. Anyway, so Michel Pereira's a beast. He's jacked. He's huge. He reminds me a little bit of Gleison Tebow.
Some insane moves. Like
he's a freak athletically. Yeah. You can just look at his body. He's so bodied up. But technical as well, and that's I thought the difference between him and Chaos. Chaos is still up and coming. He's a good prospect. You got this group of guys there like Buckley and Chaos and Holland, and there's this really interesting level of guys. There's like new signees, but you can really see the potential, and he's one of them. And Michel Pereira is as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. Good fight.
Aldo Vera. Which was
Cheeto and Aldo.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Did you see the bizarre, Aldo just decided to become a backpack in the final round.
Well, I didn't catch all of it at the end.
So round 3, Aldo basically gets him down, takes his back, locks in the body triangle, and Vera just cannot get him off. So then decides the best move is to stand up, walk over to his corner so he's closer to his corner to hear what they're telling him to do to get him off.
Oh, that's
and
hilarious.
Fall to the floor. And he just, honestly, Aldo was like the world's fucking best ever backpacker.
I mean, his jiu-jitsu was good.
Get him off.
I mean, I was in and out because I was helping Charmaine teach the kids class. So I'd go watch like a minute or two, and then I'd see some chaos on the mats, and I'd be like, oh shit, I have to come back here and watch a little bit.
A lot of kids today.
A lot of kids today. We're maxed out on the kids, especially on the weekends. So, but I did see little of it. Cheeto won the second round, I thought. Aldo won the first one, which was good. I mean, Cheeto Vera is legit.
Yeah.
He's legit. No. I mean, he's way underranked. I think he's way underranked. He's had a crazy streak of fights, and I mean, he took a round from Aldo, who's still 31? Aldo was still 31. That guy's been fighting for so long. He looks like he's 100. He looks rough compared to when he was young. The guy's had some wear and tear on his body, but he still looks good.
Yeah.
He still looks good.
But
even against Piotr Jan, he looked good at points, right?
Yeah.
It was competitive until the end.
He showed his intelligence in round 3 that he just was like, right, I'll take him down. And then once he was on his back, it was just obvious Vera just did not know how to get him off once that body triangle was sank in. There was just nothing he could do about it. And so, then he easily won round 3 because he was just controlled the entire round.
Well, it's good to see Aldo using his grappling a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my number one pet peeve with MMA fighters is being completely one-dimensional. You can be 95% one-dimensional, but occasionally you got to sprinkle some shit in there, right? Even if it's back takes, the occasional takedown, even if you're using it just as a feint. Because Aldo has just pretty much only been boxing for the last 5 years. He started to throw kicks again a little bit with Jan. He got Jan to change his stance, which was a good move, but who the hell knew Piotr Jan could fight as good from southpaw as he can from orthodox? I mean, a lot of times that's the move, right? Because you kick them in the leg, get them to change their stance, and then they're weaker in the off stance. So then it opens things up. And Aldo was landing beautiful leg kicks for the first time in years in his fights. He used to be known for it. And so it's good to see him do that. And then now he's trying to take the back. He's trying to go for some submissions. I think he's realizing that, like, hey, that fast twitch, boxing-only approach, like, he's 31. He's getting up there. That's getting older for a bantamweight. And he's had a lot of years, a lot of damage. So it's good to see him trying to mix it up. Cheeto Vera looked good. Aldo's still a dog. He's still in there. I don't think he'll be the champion again, but I think
he's going to give anyone who wants to challenge for the belt, he's going to give him a tough time to get there, for sure.
And I think he'll at least, he seems to me like he's a little bit entering like the Frankie era or Frankie Edgar type position where I don't want to say gatekeeper because you're not a gatekeeper. He's still 5 in the world or whatever. But like you beat him to get the title shot.
Yeah.
But he's probably not going to string enough together to win. But then he might win 1 or 2, and then he'll get like a number 1 contender fight against some stud, and then he may lose that one, and then be that. It seems like he's going to be that type of fighter from this point. But he's still fucking twitchy as hell. He's still super explosive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how explosive he is. But those people tend to not age well. You know, if you're the technical, if you're like a Mayweather or you're like a Diaz brother, because they're pot shotting you over and over and over again. They're not relying on that fast twitch, right? That stuff goes. That's the first thing to go. Your strength will last, your cardio will last, your technique will last, your fast twitch will go first. So the fighters that tend to rely on that have shorter careers. So I think he's just going to be a top tier contender from this point on, but he still looks amazing considering. All right.
And then top of card.
Did you see any of these highlights, Charmaine? You were teaching as well.
Yeah, I was teaching.
Charmaine's like, I saw none of this.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Right.
And then top of card, Wonderboy, Jeff Neal. Is it weird having the nickname Wonderboy when you're 38?
Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happens though when you get a nickname when you're like 15, and then all of a sudden you're 50 and you're like, wait.
To be honest,
still go by it?
He still does look about 18 though, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you get a few of those. You get those like Pretty Boy Floyd. You get a lot. Eventually, that shit will run its course. You got to change your name again.
Floyd's name is Money, isn't it?
Now it used to be Pretty Boy.
Oh really?
Yeah, Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when he was younger, his style was totally different. Fought totally different. And then changed his style, got older, changed his name to Money, and he started making it too.
Yeah.
All right, so Wonder Boy and Jeff Neal. Pretty much exactly what I thought was going to happen. Wonder Boy picked him apart. Too unpredictable, too difficult to read, too many skill sets. He's throwing hook kicks, he's throwing side kicks, he's throwing punches. He's like splitting in and out of the gap, typical Wonder Boy style. Front kicks, round kicks, hook kicks, wheel kicks, side kicks, punches galore. Like he just throws so much shit at you that it's really tough to actually get a read on anything. And Jeff Neal's very classic Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Like, technical, well-trained, very classic. But the problem is first of all, Wonder Boy's been a top-level kickboxer since before Jeff Neal probably started training. So it's going to be tough to make up that gap. All things considered, Jeff Neal fought pretty well. But Wonder Boy's seen 100 Jeff Neals, easily.
Yeah.
I mean, his record is 58-0 in kickboxing. 58-0 in kickboxing. And it's like, what? 16-2 in MMA or whatever, or something like that. I don't know. What's his record? Wonder Boy's.
He lost
is
to
it
Woodley, Till. Woodley. No, he lost to Woodley once. Lost to Till. He's 16.
He lost to Matt Brown.
Yeah, so he's not.
Lost a couple. Yeah, he lost a couple. But I mean, his record is probably like 70-4 or 70-3 or something like that, right? So the thing is, when you train with a classic, when you train that classic style and you don't have anything else, like, people tend to read it, right? It gets easy. And Wonder Boy's seen a million of those guys. When all you do is kickbox with him, trust me, he's seen all of that. 58-0 kickboxing. Of guys who only kickbox. They're not doing jiu-jitsu. They're not doing all this other stuff. So I thought it was a tough fight for Neal anyway. Pretty much went exactly as I thought it would. Wonder Boy just confused him, held better control of the range, mixed it up more. Was way more willing to just bang than he probably should have been, though. Like we were talking about at the end of that fifth round.
The crazy bit was at the end of the fifth with like 30 seconds on the clock, clearly 5 rounds up as well. And he's like, I'll just stand in the middle and trade then. And you're like, mate, you really don't need to do that. Like, you've won this fight. And Jeff Neal's got one-punch knockout power. And whether Wonder Boy just thought, look, I've got his number, he can't clip me, so I may as well go for it. But why take the risk?
Yeah, it was a weird move. And I told you earlier when we talked about that, I thought it was because Wonderboy wanted to finish. You know, Wonderboy's ranked 5th. Neal's ranked, 11th or something? 10th, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Fringe top 10 versus top 5. And, you know, if you're Wonderboy, you want to get a finish. Because everyone knew he was better, and he proved he was better. The question is just how much better. Enough to put him away? Enough to make it look impressive? Or is it going to be like the kind of pick him apart 5-round type thing that we do often see from Wonderboy? Which is no discredit to him because he's one of the most technical. He's like a modern sort of Lyoto Machida. You know, He fights like with that same kind of style, which is super interesting to watch because I love seeing fighters who are unorthodox, who bring different skills to the game. He side kicks all the time. Like I'm always afraid to side kick because it like exposes my back. And he'll do He did a hook kick like the one we do when we do the shin kick, the heel kick. He would do that one because he fights from the sideways stance. So he'll like scoot up and then hook across with his heel. And I'm always like, okay, even if he hit him with that, how much would that really hurt?
Oh, a lot probably.
No, a wheel kick will hurt with the full spin. That'll knock you out.
But that will hit with the heel.
It will hurt, but I don't know if it will hurt more than
It's like
a punch.
a hammer. Pop.
But you can't really get as much torque come backward from that, right?
You could probably.
Yeah, you probably can. Way more than me, for sure, but never seen a hook kick knockout ever.
We saw a video of him
Wheel kick, yes. And
conditioning his legs or something, and he took like a bamboo stick or something like that, and he's like just constantly hitting his shin.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that kind of trick, this doesn't work. You're like, stop doing that.
no, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It definitely can work. It's just a weird move. Like, I don't know how much you're going to gain from that.
No, I wouldn't go for himself. But besides, it says here he's ranked 8th, which I thought he was 5 or
Who,
higher.
Neal?
Oh,
Wonderboy.
no, Thompson. Yeah, Wonderboy.
What?
If you're not,
He's ranked 8.
Oh, is it?
Woodley's ranked 5th.
Is that
above
the
him, which
UFC's
is
rankings,
bizarre.
or is that another website's rankings?
It's another website. I can find the
check
UFC.
out the
so
UFC
maybe it's
official
wrong.
rankings.
That's not legit.
I think he's ranked 5th on the UFC
It's
official
just some
rankings.
bullshit ranking.
I mean, who are you going to put ahead of him? He beat Masvidal, who's probably, I think, 3rd.
But that's who he said he wants to fight next as well. At the end, he was like, "Oh yeah."
They need to give Masvidal should fight Colby, and then he should fight Usman with a training camp.
Oh no, sorry, he is 5th.
Yeah,
He's-
but the UFC's official rankings are different.
Yeah.
Can you pull them up?
Yeah.
The rankings. Let's take a look there.
Oh wait.
Khabib is still there.
Yeah, Khabib's champ.
They're gonna get rid of him. Isn't
Okay,
he
so
retired?
we got. He's not sure yet. Okay, so we got Colby, Gilbert, Leon Edwards, Masvidal, Stephen Thompson. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Wonderboy could beat most of them. I don't think he'll beat Usman. I think he could beat everyone else. But
Colby.
Usman will pin him up against the fence.
Well,
He'll Masvidal him, right? He'll do what he did against Masvidal against him.
We've seen him fight Usman in the sense that we saw him fight Woodley and how boring that was for 10 rounds.
Yeah.
No one wants that again.
I do think that Usman's a much better champion than Woodley. Woodley's the most boring champion ever, in my opinion. No disrespect to Woodley, because he'd fuck me up. I'm not trying to say he's not skilled, but God, am I wrong here? Is anyone
No.
else like, you know who I love?
Oh, yeah.
Woodley.
No one.
Have you ever? Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Uttered
shitting on the
those
guy.
words.
Seriously, I'm not shitting because he's fucking amazingly skilled, right? But I've never met a single person who's like, Tyron Woodley's my favorite fighter.
Yeah.
And if you said that, I would have some serious questions for you. I'd be like, justify this, please.
But the last exciting fight Woodley had was when he beat Lawler for the belt.
Back then,
Yeah,
he looked
way
legit.
back then. And
Yeah.
then he was like, well, I've got this belt. It's mine. No one can have it. I'm just going to fight in the most boring style known to man and keep the belt. So, fair play to him for doing it.
And
But-
also, did you ever see like the Joe Rogan podcast that they did with him? Did you watch that one, the Woodley Rogan podcast?
Yeah.
He was like, and that was when he was champ. And he just always is like talking like everybody's out to get him. He's like, oh, the UFC doesn't give him, they don't give respect. It's like, he's just whining all the time. Like, and I'm just like, dude. And then he like started doing really shitty rap.
But then before
What's that song that you remember? You remember of him?
Oh, dude, I watch it like
wish
on my
we could
free
play-
time just to laugh.
I
'cause
wish we could
it's-
play the audio so bad.
I don't know. He just like
What's the words that he
so
says?
monotonous.
I can't. But he sucks, right? He just sucks.
Yeah.
And the name of the song is like, I'm gonna beat yo ass or something. Like, I don't know. It's something like that. And it's like, all right, dude. Music has subtext, right? I mean, it's got like, I'm gonna beat yo ass.
No, you're not.
Anyway.
Colby Covington said, no, you're not.
Exactly. And, here's the reality. This is what makes fighting interesting, right? Because so much of it is about time, like when you fight someone. Because if Leon Edwards or Masvidal or pretty much anybody in the top 5 had gotten the Woodley fight before Usman, I think all of them would have beat him.
Yeah.
So then it's literally just like kind of who gets the shot, because Leon Edwards was supposed to get Woodley right after he lost to Usman, which would have bumped him up, if he had won, which I think he would have pretty easily, would have bumped him up right to #1 contender, and then he would have fought for the title.
Yeah.
And instead, the COVID shit happened, and then they give him,
He's
Woodley.
fighting. Woodley. I thought you were talking about Edwards, because Edwards is fighting Kishev. Am I saying that right? No, I'm
Chimaev.
not. Yes. Yeah.
Well, he was,
gonna be
but he was
amazing.
supposed to get Woodley in January, I think, or February, or something like that. Maybe it was April or March, right when the UK went on big lockdown.
Yeah.
And the fight it was supposed to happen in the UK. And at that point, Woodley was the #1 contender because he had just lost to Usman. So if Leon Edwards had gotten that fight, he would have come. And instead, Gilbert Burns came in, right? And Gilbert beat him, and then he jumped way up. He was like, I think he was like just barely in the top 10. Leon Edwards has been doing work for fucking years, right? He's, what is he, 9-0?
Yeah.
Or 9 of his last, he lost to Usman, but 9 of his last, or 8 of his last 9 fights, what is something like that? A ridiculous winning streak. The best in the division, outside of Usman. And so I thought that would be good. But it's just weird how it's all about timing, about when you get fights.
Which goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, and the Tony Ferguson and timing, and he just...
The timing was just a bitch there, right? I mean, look at even boxing, right? That's the worst. Boxing's the worst when it comes to timing. You miss out on the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight when they were at their prime. When you had Fury and Joshua and Wilder all undefeated and they weren't fighting each other. Like, just... The worst thing that ever in a martial arts or a combat sport is not getting the fights you want to see.
Yeah.
That is like the only sin. Everything else can be forgiven. You can kill people. You can...
Jail time.
Jail
you
time.
name
I mean,
it.
everything is pretty much forgiven. The only thing that's unforgivable is not putting on the fights, right? We never saw Fedor Lesnar. That was a big one, right? Didn't get to see that. And when you miss fights like this, you genuinely admit they're gone. So that's the thing about the Tony Ferguson fight that bums me out, is that shit's gone forever. But hey, it's the nature of the beast.
So, in a way, this segues us into our end of year segment.
Yes,
And
let's
starting
get to
with
that.
the most disappointing thing of the year. So I already said what I was thinking initially was that it was what's happened to Tony Ferguson, and the fact that he's not. He looks like he's missed his opportunity now, and he's not going to get that. I was thinking that was the most disappointing thing of the year, and then boxing.
And boxing happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, boxing happened. Everything's still stupid. We have...
Is it Jake Paul and Floyd Mayweather or something like that are fighting?
Well, God, just boxing.
What? I
is
mean,
such a-
it's just like making boxing more popular, right? Isn't
I mean,
that
the
what-
thing about boxing is you're always so disappointed anyway that it's just like par for the course. You're just always disappointed.
Not with
and-
Fury and
Yeah, but
Wilder.
now if we want a unified this is God. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole for too long, but I will. So Anthony Joshua has a mandatory minimum. I think it's for the IBF title where he's supposed to fight Alexander Usyk. And so a couple things could happen. One, if I think it's the IBF or IBA, I don't know, one of those fucking alphabet bodies, right? WBA, something like that. And so he has a mandatory fight for one of the belts already. And if Joshua takes that fight, then he won't be able to fight Fury next. Or if he doesn't take that fight, then the belt might not be on the line. So we won't have an undisputed champion. It's just like, oh, God.
why do you have to make it
And
so
meanwhile,
complicated?
we still have fucking Anthony Joshua who just fought, what's his name?
Some tin can. No offense to the guy. but-
No, he's not a can. But he's not who you want him to fight. What's his name? Can you pull it up?
Yep.
Slipping it. Keep wanting to say Povetkin, but it's not that. It's some Russian. Ukraine. I think he's Ukrainian. Just type in Anthony Joshua fight and it'll pop up. Pulov? I think it was Pulov.
Yeah, put up.
Yeah, Pulov. And he's good. Like, he's a top 10 heavyweight, but
But he's not Tyson Fury.
and
He's not Deontay Wilder.
when is the best fight in the history of British martial arts going to happen? What are we doing? You got Anthony Joshua, who's the sexiest man alive, jacked, looks like a fucking Hercules, super well spoken, nice guy, like really friendly, everyone loves him. Is the unified champion. He had that fuck up with Reese, whatever, you know what I mean? It happens. And you got Tyson Fury, who's brash and hilarious and such a good talker, and You know, he says hilariously fucked up shit. Had the whole depression thing that he came out of. What an amazing story. Both British. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. So this goes to my point. So most disappointment of the year. So what are the fights we want right now? Right, we want Fury, Joshua, Billy Joe Saunders as well. This is going to be very English focused because of me. He's on an absolute tear. So he should be getting a super fight now. Like he should be fighting Triple G.
Callum Smith is fighting. That's good. That's another. By the way, British boxers are fucking killing it.
Yeah.
They're killing it.
A lot of money got spent on that Olympic program a few years ago, and it's certainly paid off.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Right now, British boxing is getting to probably the best it's ever been. The two best heavyweights in the world. Callum Smith, the best 168 pounder. I mean, he's fighting Canelo soon. That's a tough battle. If he wins that fight, we're off to the races, man. If Callum Smith beats Canelo, and no matter who wins between Fury and Wilder, you're gonna have 2 of the top 10 pound for pound fighters both being British. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, that would be fucking amazing for British boxing.
But so these are all the fights we want to see. These are all the things we want from boxing. And what's boxing giving us instead? Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul. You're like, for fuck's sake.
Yep.
Oh, it's Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, Jake, whatever.
Same.
The only Pauls that I want to see fight are Jake and Logan. I want to see them fight. I'll pay money for that. And they've already talked about it, doing it. Like Logan Paul did Brendan Schaub's food truck thing, and he's like, yeah, I think I can fuck my brother up. 2 years, they're gonna build it, right? But it's gonna start to happen. I'll watch that fight, man. I want to see that. I think Jake will win. I think the younger brother will win.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's more technical. But anyway, my biggest disappointment of 2020, beyond the COVID shit, like as far as MMA goes, Tiffany hurt, you know? Tiffany hurt. Tony Ferguson hurt. Khabib retiring hurt. You know, he retired on top, so it's kind of hard to call that a disappointment. But in relation to the Ferguson fight falling out and all that stuff, that's a disappointment. I don't know. What other stuff in martial arts was disappointing this year? Did anything just straight up make you, like, BJ Penn losing again sad? Was there anything else, like, on that level where you're just like, oh, God?
Honestly, for me, I was thinking about
Chuck Liddell was last year, right? I don't know.
I've lost all track of these things. Honestly, for me, I was thinking about it, and it is just the fucking state of boxing. I was like, nah, this is ridiculous now. This is a joke.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely. That's just boxing, though. I mean, it's just constantly a disappointment. Anybody who says otherwise is a fool. That's like the most politically corrupt sport in the world, which is saying a lot.
Yep.
Considering there's football and FIFA and everything else. So, all right, what else do you have for the tops there, Jake? There was a couple. You gave me some top 10 end of the year lists.
Fighter of the year. I think. Who wants to go first? Who wants to throw? Charmaine.
I know what hers is going to be. I know what her fight of the year is going to be.
It's Zhang Weili and Joanna.
Yeah.
It's the fight of the year for me.
Yeah, that fight was fucking amazing. Yeah. For me, I think there's probably 3 or 4 you could put in there. Zhang Weili and Joanna, that's definitely one of them. Telling you that Marvin Vettori, Jack Hermanson fight, sure. That was good. The Moreno Figueiredo fight was really, really good. Were there any other?
Reyes Jones. That was this year. I had to look into it.
That was this year?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was the closest Jones has come to losing in a long time. I actually thought Reyes won. So.
But I didn't think. But no one was hurt. No one was like bad hurt. You know what I mean? It was competitive, but it wasn't like dramatic. And with the back and the fourth, and I mean those other fights were dramatic. Like the shift changes and the tempo changes of the fight, and then getting rocked and getting back up. I probably got to go with Joanna and Weili also. That fight was dope. Best female fight of all time. So if there's for the one woman listening to this
Women
podcast,
power!
go and watch that fight. It's amazing.
See,
gang signs.
This is why I'm sulking, because that was the only big fight I didn't watch this year.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No,
did you see it afterward?
No, I've
Bro, go watch that
I've watched the highlights, but
go watch that
else.
shit.
Yeah,
it's
you gotta
amazing.
watch it.
It's amazing. So yeah, I think that's fight of the year. You know, really, really good stuff. Amazing fight. A lot of good fights this year. By the way, the last 4 or 5 fight cards have all been amazing, and that's just UFC. One has put on some amazing fights, especially the kickboxing. Some of the kickboxing fights have been amazing. There haven't been a lot of like back and forth, close split decision type wars, but
was it a Lasiri and Haggerty?
That was like a year ago or 2 years ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
It was like this year.
But
No
also,
concept of time anymore.
So I did this. This year's been so messed up because of COVID that I couldn't remember what had happened this year and stuff like that. I was like, fight of the year, DC Stipe. But then I'd got it mixed up in my head somehow, and I was thinking of last year's DC Stipe fight.
but that was this year, though.
Yeah, but then they fought again this year. But
that was a good fight, too.
confused.
That was a good fight. That was a close fight.
But the body shots did.
That was the
hurt
first
DC,
fight,
right?
though.
Oh,
But that was
The first fight.
No,
last year.
that was
No,
the
that was the
recent one.
second. Oh, they fought 3 times, right?
yeah.
Right.
See, this
second
is what I
time-
mean. This year's been
So
so
confused.
fucked up. I
Dude.
can't remember what's
From
what.
going into quarantine in like February to like 2 months of not doing shit, and then this end of the year burner we've been on, like, I'm in a time warp. I have no idea what the fuck's going on in my life. I'm just like, Charmaine, tell me what to do today. I just need to,
Yeah,
I'm
tell
checked
him.
out.
He doesn't listen.
But I also want to throw a few more end of the year shout outs there. Obviously, Tiffany Teo, Singaporean Fighter of the Year.
See, if it was
There's no question there.
Card of the year as well. Fuck me, that card that she was on that we all stayed and watched that.
That
night
was a banger.
Amazing.
That was the best one card of all time, probably.
Yeah.
That was the best one card of all time. Amazing card. Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Good call. Otherwise, Amir Khan, he deserves some props. He had a couple good fights this year. Who else local? I would love to do this also for like, and I will next year, but this year there haven't been any BJJ competitions or anything like that. But I'd also like to give the local martial artists credit too, like Singaporean Jiu-Jitsu Athlete of the Year, all that kind of stuff. We'll do it next year once there's some tournaments, right? Once we have some competitions and stuff like that. Also, maybe people know this. My old coach, Italo, he just won the Master Worlds. He won like 2 days ago or something like that. So the Masters won, which the Masters won is fucking tough. It's hard to call it. I get a little sketch about world champion when you're dealing with Masters, because the world champion is the best regardless of age. And once you start being like, oh, but this is the 30 to 35-year-old, it's like, okay. When Cobrinha won IBJJF Worlds at like 38, he still competed in the lower division. It wasn't Masters.
Yeah.
So like you can still compete with the lower divisions, even if you're older. You get to choose. And this is no disrespect, because the Masters Worlds are fucking competitive, and I'm not saying that they're not. But I get a little weird about calling yourself the world champion when you're going up in a division that has like a 5-year age limit, and you get to choose if you want to do that. And all the real studs are in the regular open, right? Like the regular age group.
But when you call it Masters, I think like 50-year-olds or something.
But it's 29.
Yeah, it's like,
It's
why
29,
you call
guys.
them Masters? It's not like, they're not old yet.
I mean, I don't understand why the Masters 1 isn't like 35. Like, you're still in pretty close to your physical peak at 35. You're going into like an older division at 29?
Yeah, it's like, really?
I mean, by the way, and no disrespect, I can't stress this enough to anyone who's ever won the Masters World, because they're better than me, right? Listen, previous world champions have multiple times compete in those Masters Worlds. So I am not saying that they are not competitive as fuck, but they're not competitive as the regular division, the baseline division. And, but this is off on a tangent. Point is, congrats, Italo. That's fucking amazing.
Yes.
Biggest tournament he's ever won. It is an extremely difficult tournament. The guy's teaching and has a kid and all that stuff. So congrats to you, Italo, and to any of those old GF team guys that are maybe listening to the podcast that train with me and him. And so awesome to see him win. Anyway, I digress. What were we talking about before that? The end of the year type stuff.
End of year. So knockout of the year.
That's easy. Buckley's jump spinning back kick to the face. That has to be the knockout of the year.
Was the elbow this year?
No, that was a couple. The back.
Yeah, the Korean
that was
zombie
like
one.
a year ago or 2 years ago, something like
I
that.
keep thinking that was this year.
I know, dude. The time.
Like,
the
yeah,
time.
that's the knockout for me.
The only other one I'd find there is the Cody Garbrandt one. The one from down low.
I'll take the Kevin Holland one any day. That Kevin Holland knockout was amazing. So if I had to pick top 3, it would be Kevin Holland. It would be the jump spinning back kick by Buckley. And then, I mean, there's been a lot of really good ones in one, too, man. A lot of nasty liver shots, But if we're talking like UFC specifically, there was one other really amazing knockout this year. Remember, there was like one other.
Wasn't there a guillotine choke where the guy got picked?
Well, there was a slam. Remember the slam? Did you see that? Guy jumped the closed guard and then he just went boom like 2 weeks ago. Matt Wyman.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Yeah, we talked about that one. He like jumped guard and the guy just like framed off, so his head was going down and then slammed right. Apparently he got knocked out bad for like minutes.
Shit.
So those 3 are both a slam, a punch from the guard, and a jump spinning back kick. What a fucking incredible year for
Rose
for
was
martial
also
arts.
spiked on her head, right? This
That
year?
was last year.
What? What is happening to
She's
me?
trying. She's trying.
Trying.
To be fair, you've watched a lot of fights, and they do blend together. Like, I mean,
know.
that was probably like 16 months ago, not 12. I mean, it's pretty close.
There was the amazing 1-1 only a couple of weeks back. The spinning back kick, I think it was. I'm trying to find it now. There was absolute.
The one I sent you.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
one.
yeah.
The one.
Yeah, from one.
kick.
Yeah, from one FC. That was an amazing knockout. as well. I'm just trying to find it.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I think I sent you the link. You could probably pull it up there. But listen, this year for knockouts has been absolutely amazing. If you watch one and you watch watch some of the Muay Thai and the kickboxing, like, it is brutal. It is brutal. And there was a wheel kick at one, too. I mean, there's been Corey Sandhagen. How crazy is this? Corey Sandhagen knocked out Marlon Moraes with a fucking wheel kick. He doesn't even make the top 5.
Yeah.
Like, Marlon Moraes is like number 3 in the world, and he got knocked out with a wheel kick. And we're like, yeah, but there's been so many other good ones.
It's not special anymore.
So, I mean, really amazing knockouts. Oh, I also wanted to add another category, the one championship fighter of the year. And I think it has to go between maybe 2 people. You can make it 3 if you include the MMA. For Muay Thai and kickboxing, it's got to be Rodtang and Nong O, who just fought over the weekend. Nong O just fought Rodlek, who's a really, really great Muay Thai fighter. This was like 2 days ago, so I wanted to shout this card out. And, Rodlek just knocked out Kolabdam, who was like the former Muay Thai fighter of the year in Thailand. They had the king gives them, or they go on TV, and like the fighter of the year in Thailand is legit. That's like the pound for pound. And he knocked out the guy with one punch who just won it like 2 years ago. Young guy, like in his 20s. Rodlek's 30, which is like dinosaur for Muay Thai. So I was really cheering for him. But Nong O, who's made like 4-time Lumpini, I think a 3-time Lumpini Rajadamnerd champion, 2-time fighter of the year. They had an amazing fight, and he knocked him out with a crisp right hand. Nong O's definitely one of the best fighters of the year. Rodtang is my favorite personally because he goes so hard to the body, and he's just disgustingly powerful. Another fighter of the year. And then MMA for one. You know what? Y'all are not going to like this, but probably Christian Lee. Some of these Singaporeans may not be liking this. But hear me out. A lot of the big one champions lost this year.
Yep.
Ong La just lost. Brandon Vera lost to Ong La. The welterweight champion just lost. Can't remember his name. Just got replaced by De Ridder. De Ridder just beat Ong La.
I should have sponsored.
I know, right? We tried to get on the podcast, but I was like, I don't know if he'll win. Well, he taught me a lesson. Respect. And also Martin Nguyen, he lost too.
Yep.
So Bibiano could be. DJ only had 2. Did he fight this year?
Not that I recall.
Was it this year? I can't remember when he
No.
fought Wada. He won that tournament. I can't remember when it was. The end of last year or this year or whatever. Christian Lee fought twice this year. He fought on that card.
Yeah, he fought on the card.
He
where
got nearly
was.
dropped, and then
Yeah.
he came back and he won. I mean, he's one of the only still like properly incumbent champions. You know what I mean? Who's fought and defended the title and is still the champion from last year to this year. So, but you're definitely the more active guys like the Thais. I'll give them the spot, but Christian Lee deserves a nod there. And all right, what else? There was a submission of the year. I was trying to think about it earlier.
Did you see Mackenzie Dern's knee bar?
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
a thing of beauty.
That was pretty
I'd
sick.
give it that.
That was pretty sick. Chase Hooper's heel hook. Did you see
Yes.
that
Yeah,
last
yeah,
week?
yeah, saw it.
I mean, that was solid. He was losing that fight.
Yep.
So that was a kind of a come from behind heel hook. Of course, you can throw Khabib in there. That triangle. That's probably my submission of the year if I had to pick, because the stakes were so high. It was a big fight, and to hit a mounted triangle is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So Khabib's mounted triangle over Justin Gaethje gets my submission of the year.
Yeah, I think that Mackenzie Dern knee bar though was just the fact that she was going for it and fighting for it, and
It looked painful too, right?
It's
It
not
looked
as big as
bad.
stakes, but it was just a thing of beauty that she's just attacking the legs like crazy.
And you gotta love a good leg lock in MMA, even though they're super sketchy. Like you gotta love a good leg lock in MMA. Okay. Is there any more? What did you put on the list?
So the only other thing I thought was, like, I think Dana White this year deserves a massive shout out, because thank God for him going, fuck COVID, we're going to fight, we're going to put fights on. Like, you remember in the middle of lockdown when we were all miserable, bored, And we used to
Just
get on
watching Tiger
WhatsApp.
King.
Yeah.
All there was Tiger King.
Dude, that shit was awesome
Back
though.
when Joe Exotic was like trending, you know.
Yeah, but outside of Tiger King, then the only other thing we got was like, thank God Dana White was like, nah, fuck it, I'm just going to build an island and have fights on there, some sort of mad king.
Yeah.
So he deserves a shout out last year.
I think the UFC has done the best of all the global sports considering COVID. And the reality is they had to, because in order for them to get their money from ESPN, they had to put on a certain amount of shows. So they were kind of forced to, because ESPN is supposed to pay them like billions of dollars. I mean, some insane number, right? I don't know, billion, hundreds of millions, whatever the number is. And but they only got it if they actually put on a certain amount of shows. And so once they were closed for 2 months, they're like, okay, hold on. At this pace, we're not going to get that hundreds of millions of dollars from ESPN. So they found a way to make it happen, but it all worked out pretty well. You know, like you still get cancellations and fights falling through. Leon Edwards, as mentioned before.
Yep.
But ultimately, they did it really well. It's been pretty safe. No one's died. You know, all things considered, and they're bringing in fighters from everywhere. It's not like the NBA, right, or the NFL, where you're dealing with like everybody's local to America. You're dealing with states within states, but in the UFC, they're bringing them from Russia, they're bringing them from the Middle East, they're bringing them from South America, and North America, and Africa, and globally. So the risk is high. You're going to have some bullshit, and luckily, it hasn't been too much. A couple of fights pulled out, kind of a bummer, but they reschedule them in a month or two or whatever, and everything will be fine. But I'm glad for this year to be over. What about you, Charmaine? Are you just done with 2020?
No, yeah, me too. I'm happy.
Was it, if you had to pick, would it be better or worse than it should have been? Like, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, because 2020 sucked really bad for a lot of people, and there were certain aspects of 2020 that actually worked out way better for me than it should have. But then there was still some like really awful shit. Like, so that I'm like, considering everything, is it exceeded my expectations, considering how shit it could have been, or is it as shit as I think it is? You know?
I mean, our business is doing great, so
That's good.
I'm happy about that.
That's what I mean
This
by
COVID thing hasn't really affected me too much, other than the fact that I can't leave the house or leave the country.
Yeah, we didn't mind that too much, right? We didn't mind the
I
whole.
like to stay at home anyways. So.
we didn't mind the whole quarantine thing. Like for us, some people just can't, right? For us, that was fine.
I think that's because you've not got 2 kids.
Yeah,
Fair.
We've just sat at home every day going,
Fair.
oh no, what are we
Yeah.
going to do with our time now? We've got another 24
Yes.
hours to fill.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were just hanging out pretty much alone, so that would definitely be better.
Yeah.
That would 100%. You're like, just go to school. Oh wait.
Oh no, not doing that.
Well, I think it's been a mixed bag, you know, like anything.
I mean, I think, you know, talking about someone else who's doing well, I know the Singaporean government get a lot of flack sometimes, but you compare, I mean, my
Yeah.
God, we're living luxury right now.
I know.
England's just been locked down again.
Yeah.
Sydney's been locked down again.
When
Europe's-
Biden gets in, U.S. is going to get it again, because they're talking to what's the PM of New Zealand? I can't think of her name.
Oh, Jacinda Ardern.
Yeah, Arden. They're talking to her, and they, they're trying to figure out, because the U.S. is still spiking hundreds of thousands of cases a day, or tens, or whatever it is. My numbers are totally off. There's a reason why this is my career. You know what I mean? I get punched in the head a lot, and but Biden's definitely going to make it tighter than Trump did, because Trump doesn't give a fuck. They all got COVID. I mean, literally the whole fucking cabinet got COVID. So I mean, it's ridiculous. So obviously Biden's going to make everything stricter. They may go back into lockdown. So I am thankful for Singapore. I'm thankful for the fact that we can train. I'm thankful for the government being able to actually support us and keep the gym open. And I'm glad that we have multiple different types of martial arts here. Because those pure BJJ gyms, those are the ones that really struggled, because we couldn't enroll for months. So now that we're actually through it, mostly to the other side, phase 3 is coming in December, in the end of December. And then, I think the vaccine's coming by third quarter next year. We might be moving again. But I'm so happy to be rolling, and I'm so happy to be training again. I can't wait for a jiu-jitsu tournament. That shit is going to be lit. I don't know how they're going to be, are they going to limit it to, they'll have to, I guess, if they do it anytime soon, limit the numbers of people that actually can compete, and maybe not spectators and stuff, but the first jiu-jitsu tournament that actually can come back, whoo, it's going to be fun. People are salivating at the idea of competing again, right? Like all these BJJ people who've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
I know Alvin put up a post the other day and was asking about it, like, can he run another tournament? So fingers crossed he gets the green light. And,
I'm sure they're talking on. I mean, one's doing it, right? I mean, like, they can do it, but it's a little different with BJJ because, I mean, they limit 5 per people per group to roll with. But if you do a competition, you're gonna have, you know, who knows how many matches you have. It depends on how big your division is, but good chance. I mean, you have to drill with some people, right? Like, you have to warm up with your people that you train with, but then can you go compete with the other people?
You know what?
Because then they're rolling with other people, and then it just defeats the purpose of the whole.
No, Alvin, I've got it. Put on a quintet. That'd be perfect. You're allowed 8 people, 4 from each academy. Boom, away we go.
That's probably the only way you could do it. Actually, your genius might have shown there, Jake. That might be the only way you can get away with it.
I just did basic maths and figured out 4 + 4 is 8. So a quintet is the move. Let's make it happen somehow.
Yeah, that might be actually the only way that you can do it. But then you'd have to do, like, they've done some of those in Singapore.
Yeah.
But it's like only blue belts, which is okay.
I mean,
but you know, it's not scratching the itch for those white belts out there who are just like ready to go. You know what I mean?
I've just got pictures of like, you know, the white belt rage quintet would be amazing. Everyone would die straight away.
Someone would die. Yeah, gas and death immediately. But man, really, I'm just, you know, number one thing I'm thankful for is that my business is open.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was a result of the Singapore government actually being proactive in helping small businesses stay open. I mean, did you hear this thing in the U.S. that apparently they're talking about giving people $600? $600 is what they're discussing for the next stimulus check. So they got $1,200 like 6 months ago, and then it'd be $600 maybe if they actually agree to it. So you like less than $2,000 for many, and most of the U.S. has been locked up in total for like 2 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And break that down, and then you can't work, and then you're like, wait, hold on here. I mean, that's like $700 a month during the lockdown. But then certain businesses are restricted even further, even after that, right? Like restaurants who can only have a certain amount of people, which, you know, and the margins are really thin when you're dealing with a restaurant. So, you know, there's all this stuff. I mean, even us, we're dealing with that. I saw some other gyms in Singapore dealing with that because they're starting to reach the limit of their capacity, which means the profits are throttle necked, right? Like, you can only have 10 people, and then as soon as classes are full and then people don't start coming in and then they can't get a slot and then they're like, why am I paying for this? And then it's a downhill slope. So far it's all been totally manageable, but I'm curious to see how this phase 3 thing's going to go and then how we're ultimately just going to get out of this.
Yeah.
But I just can't wait not to wear my mask anymore.
That's going to be a while.
Like,
you know what? Me and Charmaine talked about this the other day. It's going to be weird when we actually can't wear our mask because for the first week or two, we're going to feel really weird without it, right? We're just conditioned to it.
Yeah.
So, like, the first couple times we leave the house without it, we're going to be like, fuck, you know, we're going to feel naked. It's going to feel like we're walking out of the house with no clothes on.
guarantee you there's still be people wearing masks around.
Oh, yeah. People are just like, I can't change my ways now.
I'm quite ugly. This mask makes me more attractive, so I'm just going to keep it.
And, you know, the vaccine's coming. We have to get it. You probably have to get it, won't you? Teachers?
No one said, so I don't know what the rules are. So
if you want to travel...
Yeah, if you want to go anywhere, they're going to make you get a vaccine to let you back in.
So what do you do? Do you get the vaccine and travel, or are you just like, eh?
I'm going to wait about 6 months and see if there's a zombie apocalypse from this vaccine before anyone sticks a needle in me.
Solid move. I mean, I just read an article the other day that said that apparently the coronavirus just mutated again. And they'd found a new type of mutation to it that they're not sure whether the vaccine will affect it directly.
So this is in England. So England's basically just been Britain's been absolutely screwed over these past few days, and it's on this premise that there's a new strain of the virus that's appeared and 70% more contagious or something like that. But depending on where you get your news sources from, some people are like, well, that happens all the time with viruses.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, there's always going to be variation, right, with that kind of stuff. But I remember, did you see the article? Was it in Scandinavia or somewhere like that, or maybe Denmark, where they had to kill like 100,000 minks because the virus had mutated in the minks, and then I think it was a minx or something like that.
No, it was
a mink.
And then they had to go and slaughter like hundreds of thousands of them to do that, and you're just like, oh, that can't be good. Because if they know they have to do that, then you're like, wait, this? Because I mean, that's people's whole bit. Like, if the government comes in and does that, and they just murder hundreds of thousands of mink, then you're like, okay, they're really fucking concerned, but this might be a problem. So,
But, you know, we're here in Singapore. We're up to 8 people. Let's organise a quintet.
Organize the quintet, get a vaccine, start traveling. I'll get the vaccine.
Amazing.
Man. I'll get it. I'll take it for free. It's free for pass holders. So
Yeah, I'm not saying I
take
won't take it. I'm just saying I'm going to give it a little bit of time before I do.
fucking anti-vaxxer son of a bitch.
Oh, is that anti-vaxxer?
You're spreading pseudoscience on my podcast. I have enough problems with YouTube as it is, Jake. Okay, I don't need you. I don't need you peddling your Trumponomics. I don't need you peddling your anti-vaxxer horse shit. Okay? I need you to talk about fights and heel hook people. That's it.
And get the vaccine. I'll get the vaccine.
And yeah, you know, that's it. All right, everybody. Well, 2020 is a weird one. You know, it was it was a very weird ride. I will remember this year. It's burned into my brain. That's what I'm trying to say. I will never forget it. It is a roller coaster of a year. You know, do you feel like every single year when end of the year rolls around, you're always like, this is going to be my year. Like, this is going to be where I hit my stride as a human.
No, I gave up on that in my mid-30s. I was like, fuck this.
Maybe that's my problem. Is I'm still hanging on to some concept of like my life going the way that I imagine it. Reality is, dude, let that shit go. Just
I would like to
enjoy the
point
ride.
out my life's pretty alright actually. So
Yeah, see? Yeah. I'm not complaining either. I just, you know, like me and Charmaine periodically have had, the last end of the few years has been a little rough, right? Like every year toward December, something ends up happening. Like we got kicked out of Malaysia, right? And then end of last year, of course, COVID starts to hit, right?
Yeah.
December, January. And then the year before that, we left Trifecta and moved to Malaysia. So like every year, it's either like, oh, lost the job at Trifecta, wasn't getting paid. Oh, now I'm in Malaysia, worked there for a year. Oh, I'm kicked out. Come back here. Here's COVID for you a year later. And I'm just like, man, is it me or is it like... So chalk it up to another weird one, I guess.
it's been a very, very strange year.
But I think the silver lining is important, that it could have been worse, and Singapore's handled it pretty well. And finally, we can see the grass on the other side, right? We can see the light at the end of the path here. So keep training, everybody. Keep training. Keep watching the fights. If you like the content, please like, subscribe. It helps a lot. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow my wife, Charmaine, on Instagram. What's your Charmaine? Or what's your Charmaine? Charmaine? What's your Instagram? Charmaine?
Charmaine LSM.
Charmaine LSM?
Yeah,
Okay.
just Charmaine
Jake,
LSM.
you don't ever use Instagram.
No.
Really. Use Facebook a little bit.
No one wants to see endless pictures of my kids here doing jiu-jitsu, so it's fine.
You're a jiu-jitsu dad, man. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be ashamed of it. Pretty soon we'll have you shrieking at them in competitions again, like all the other jiu-jitsu dads all across the world. And so I want to thank everybody. Last thing, and then we'll wrap up on this. Thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to me. We've basically been running for a year now, like a little over 14 months or something like that, 40 plus episodes. So thank you all for listening. It means a lot. If you ever want to contact me, you can do it on social media. I pretty much respond to everybody. Otherwise, any sort of emails, you can hit up strongholdpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. We'll be releasing some technique videos soon. Me and Jake have a plan between Christmas and New Year's. I'm going to release a video series teaching you all how to fight. And some of you may know how to fight, but a lot of you don't. Maybe some of you do. And it's going to be like a short thing. So I'm going to do like a 10-minute video-ish. I don't know how long it'll actually take. In my head, it's 10. It may be longer. Where I break down all of the different ways to fight, from stand-up to clinching to jiu-jitsu. And I want it to be very, very simple. Something that someone who has no idea how to fight can look up, like my 10 or 15-minute video, and it will show you how to fight. Like, this is passing the guard. This is why you have to pass the guard. This is how you throw the punches. This is how you block the punches. This is how you clinch. This is what you can do in the clinch. And it's just literally going to be like rapid fire, the way I have it in my head. And then I think after that, we'll create a series where we'll expand on each section, and then we'll do that like a technique type videos and tutorials and all that stuff. So that's my kind of master plan for the end of the year. If you guys want to see that, let me know. And
Very
otherwise,
cool.
yeah,
Sounds very cool.
It'd be cool, man. It'd be cool. Teach you how to punch, teach you how to hip escape, how to re-guard, and then most interestingly, I think, from my perspective, is particularly with the striking in particular, right, is I'm going to show you how to throw all the strikes, how to set them up, and that's going to include all the flashy shit, the spinning back kicks, the side kicks, the wheel kicks, the jumping 360s, the spinning back fist, the straight punches, the uppercuts, the hooks, real quick, just like this is how you do it, this is your objective, and then we'll go to like how you fight on the ground and all that stuff, and I want it to be easily digestible. So thank you all for listening. The podcast has been a trip. It's really, really fun. It means a lot to me that you guys enjoy the content, and we'll look forward to putting more out next year. Alrighty, so this is the Stronghold Podcast. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hey.
All right, end of the year. Podcast is done. I can